Every year, creatures around the world embark on remarkable journeys, covering thousands of miles in their quest for survival. They cross oceans, scale mountains, and brave the harshest weather conditions, all in search of food, mates, or warmer climates. The globe skimmer dragonfly, for instance, flutters its wings across the Indian Ocean, covering an astounding 1,553 miles non-stop from India to Africa. Then we have the great and mighty caribou, moving in herds of up to 500,000, migrating from southern plains to northern mountains, driven by nature's rhythm. And let's not forget the majestic humpback whales traveling up to 10,000 miles from nutrient-rich cold waters to tropical birthing grounds. These journeys, my friends, are not for the faint-hearted. They're filled with challenges, fraught with perils, and yet somehow these creatures persist. But what if I told you that there's something even more astonishing about these epic voyages? Something that, well, I guess you'll have to stick around to find out. What's up, my amazing and curious folks? Ready to unravel mysteries together? I'm your host, Caesar, and over here is my vibrant co-host, Sonia.
Hey there, all you curious minds.
We're coming to you with another episode of Curiosity Wonderland. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you never miss a chance to satisfy your curiosity. Our first stop on this grand tour of animal migrations is the tiny but impressive globe skimmer dragonfly. These pint-sized explorers embark on an annual migration from India to Africa, covering a non-stop distance of 1,553 miles across the Indian Ocean to Somalia.
Wait, hold up a second. You're saying a 2-inch dragonfly flies over 1,000 miles across the ocean?
Exactly, it's truly amazing. And what's more, the scientists at the Indian Institute of Technology have developed a model to study how these tiny creatures manage such a feat. It factors in elements like lift, drag, wing beating frequency, and the insect's fuel storage.
How on earth can a dragonfly sustain such a long flight?
Well, the research indicates that a globe skimmer can sustain 90 hours of steady flight at a speed of 15 feet per second. But for the migration to be successful, it needs more than sheer endurance. The prevailing winds, particularly the Somali jet stream, are crucial.
So they're riding the winds, literally. But how do they time it right?
Great question. Favorable conditions occur after September, with the best chances for success in December. This aligns with sightings of the dragonflies in Somalia during November and December. They ride the Somali jet stream back to India, which influences the Asian summer monsoon.
And the dragonflies don't always follow the same path, right?
That's right. The team discovered multiple routes that meet the necessary flight conditions, which explains why dragonflies occasionally end up in different parts of Asia. But several mysteries persist, like how they ascertain optimal wind conditions and their navigation to tiny islands en route.
And how does this knowledge get passed down from one generation to the next?
That's another great question, and just one more mystery in the incredible journey of the globe skimmer dragonfly. Moving on from dragonflies, we find ourselves amongst the majestic herds of North American caribou. Their migration is quite a sight to behold, as they traverse diverse terrains in search of food and safety.
Wait a second. I remember reading somewhere that they migrate north during the colder months. Isn't that counterintuitive? Shouldn't they be seeking warmer climates?
That's a logical assumption, but these caribou are built for the cold. They head north toward mountains in the fall and winter and return to coastal fields in the spring and summer. For instance, the porcupine subspecies starts its migration along the Alaskan and Canadian coasts.
I see. So they form large herds to escape bugs during the warmer months and then split into smaller groups in the fall.
Exactly, and each herd even has distinctive birthing fields. By late June or early July, they start their trip back south, searching for bug-free areas. The migrations are usually led by inherited herd leaders, protecting the young ones and mothers from predators by positioning them near the center of the group.
Amazing, those herds must be huge.
They certainly are, ranging from 50,000 to 500,000 individuals. The Barren Ground caribou herd in northwest Canada is the largest, boasting about 300,000 members.
And the porcupine herd in Alaska isn't far behind, right? With a migration route covering nearly 1,500 miles.
Right, it's the longest migration route worldwide. But now, let's switch gears from caribou to another incredible traveler, the northern elephant seal. They undertake what's known as a double migration into the North Pacific, enabling them to forage and build up energy reserves for fasting during their land-based activities.
Now that sounds like a tough journey. They must cover a lot of distance.
Oh, they certainly do. Males cover at least 13,000 miles, and females just over 11,100 miles, spending 250 to 300 days at sea. Fascinating, isn't it? It's interesting to note that these elephant seals exhibit different migratory patterns and diets based on their gender. Males typically migrate north to northwest along the continental margin toward the nutrient-rich Gulf of Alaska, foraging at the bottom of the sea. On the other hand, females usually migrate west-northwest and forage within the water column.
That's just like when I was a kid. My brother and I would go on our little adventures in the woods behind our house. He'd always prefer to explore the ground, looking under rocks and into burrows, while I'd be climbing trees and spotting birds.
That's a great analogy. Similar to your explorations, the males and female seals have their unique preferences. And despite their larger size and needing more food, males spend less time foraging than females. This suggests that males may consume larger amounts of food and food types with higher caloric values.
So the males are like the fast food consumers of the seal world.
Haha, you could say that. Now let's turn our attention to the bar-tailed godwit. This bird embarks on an extraordinary annual migration that starts in Alaska and ends in New Zealand each fall. This non-stop flight stretches over a mind-boggling 7,000 miles and takes approximately 8 days to complete.
I can't even stay awake for 2 days straight, let alone fly non-stop for 8 days.
It is truly astonishing. One godwit, named E7, flew non-stop for 7 days, covering a distance of 6,214 miles from New Zealand to the Yellow Sea. This site is a crucial stopover on the godwit's migratory path, offering bountiful tidal mudflats where the birds can replenish their energy reserves.
It's incredible how these birds push the boundaries of endurance. This reminds me of my marathon training days. The finish line seemed so far away, but the exhilaration of reaching it was absolutely worth the struggle. I can only imagine what these birds must feel after their marathon flight.
That's a great comparison. Unfortunately, their migratory path is under threat due to the rapid disappearance of these nourishing mudflats. We can only hope that these incredible travelers continue to find the resources they need to complete their extraordinary journeys. Moving on, we come to the remarkable navigators of the aquatic world, the salmon. These creatures are known for returning to their birth streams, relying on their extraordinary senses rather than vision.
I do recall hearing about how salmon imprint on the unique smells and chemical compositions of their habitats. It's like they have their own built-in GPS.
That's a good way to put it. From their natal freshwater environments to the vast expanses of the ocean, salmon are able to embark on expansive journeys across the North Pacific Ocean and return precisely to their birthplace.
That's incredible. But what happens when the scent of their home stream is diluted in the vast ocean waters?
Great question. Studies have discovered that salmon also imprint on the Earth's magnetic field when they first enter the ocean. They possess an acute ability to detect minor variations in this field, which aids them in pinpointing their location in the ocean.
That's mind-blowing. So it's a mix of using smell and the Earth's magnetic field. These creatures are just full of surprises.
They certainly are. And speaking of surprises, let's talk about great white sharks. Like bears and sea lions, they need to store energy for their extensive travels. The sharks migrate annually over distances exceeding 2,500 miles, moving between feeding and breeding grounds.
So they're like the marathon runners of the ocean.
Indeed. But unlike marathon runners, these sharks face the challenge of limited food availability in the vast Pacific Ocean. To understand how these sharks manage such long journeys without constant feeding, researchers from Stanford University and the Monterey Bay Aquarium conducted studies and found that as a shark gained mass, it also became more buoyant.
So it's like they're storing their energy reserves, much like a camel stores water in its hump.
Exactly. And they have a behavior known as drift diving, where they relax their fins and allow currents and momentum to carry them forward. Speaking of energy storage strategies, this brings to mind humpback whales. Their migration begins in nutrient-rich cold waters during spring to fall, where they feed voraciously, accumulating a reserve of blubber. As early winter begins, they transition to travel to tropical waters for calving and mating.
It's amazing how they can rely on their blubber reserves throughout this massive journey.
It's indeed fascinating. By the way, I recall an event that happened recently. I was hiking with a group of friends, and we had underestimated the amount of food we needed to bring. As a result, we had to ration our food to make sure it lasted for the entire hike.
Coincidentally, something similar happened to me. I was on a road trip, and we were so engaged in our journey that we forgot to stop for lunch. We had to survive on our snack reserves until we found a place to eat.
Just like the humpback whales, we humans also sometimes have to rely on our reserves. Now back to these amazing creatures. Their journey is a round trip spanning up to 10,000 miles, a record only recently surpassed by a gray whale that covered almost 14,000 miles.
That's like traveling halfway around the world.
Yes, and the migration process is methodical, taking between 4 and 8 weeks, and follows a specific order. Mothers and calves set off first, followed by subadults, then adult males, and finally the pregnant females who delay their departure to maximize feeding time.
Mother Nature certainly has a way of organizing things, doesn't she?
She does indeed. And speaking of organization, let's move on to the Great Wildebeest Migration, renowned as one of the most sought-after experiences for wildlife and nature enthusiasts. Speaking of migrations, let's talk about the Great Wildebeest Migration. This massive movement involves over 1 million animals, primarily wildebeest, along with zebra, topi, and other gazelle, traversing the Serengeti Mara ecosystem in a constant circular migration pattern. The migration is a dramatic and dynamic event, marked by high-stakes encounters with predators and the birth of thousands of new calves.
I've always found it fascinating how they move in response to the weather, especially the rains and the growth of new grass.
It is indeed an incredible spectacle of survival and endurance. Speaking of survival, it reminds me of a recent event where my car broke down on a remote highway. I had to rely on my survival instincts to navigate through the situation until help arrived.
That's quite an adventure. Coincidentally, I recently had to navigate a power outage at home. It's amazing how such situations bring out our innate survival instincts.
Indeed. On a lighter note, let's move on to the migration of North America's monarch butterfly. Unlike other butterflies, monarchs embark on a two-way migration similar to birds due to their inability to endure cold northern winters. They overwinter in the Sierra Madre Mountains of Mexico and in California.
It's incredible how they can cover 50 to 100 miles a day, with the longest recorded journey being 265 miles in one day.
It's truly an extraordinary natural phenomenon, and it's a testament to the endurance and resilience of these creatures. Our journey through the world of migrations wouldn't be complete without talking about the Arctic tern. This small bird is known for covering a round-trip distance of about 18,641 miles each year, which is among Earth's longest animal migrations.
It's truly mind-boggling that such a small creature undertakes such an epic journey.
It is indeed. The Arctic terns hatch during the Arctic summer, and to avoid the harsh, dark Arctic winter, they fly south following the summer season to the Antarctic Circle. Their migratory route is not a straight line, making the journey even longer than the direct distance between the two circles.
So it's a quest for the summer sun, driven by the Earth's tilt, causing different hemispheres to experience varying seasons.
That's right. And it's not just an individual effort. Arctic terns migrate in colonies. Before migration, the colony observes a period of silence, a behavior known as dread. Then they collectively leave their nests.
It's a survival strategy that helps them avoid the harsh Arctic winter and find food more readily.
Exactly. Despite their small size, Arctic terns are not endangered due to their remote breeding grounds in the high Arctic. which are challenging for predators to find. That wraps up our exploration of some of the most impressive migrations in the natural world. Our journey through these incredible migrations has taken us from the tiniest dragonflies crossing the Indian Ocean to the massive humpback whales traversing thousands of miles. It's a fascinating reminder of the resilience and adaptability of wildlife. Yet these migrations remain shrouded in mystery and raise questions about the impact of climate change on these journeys. As we continue uncovering the secrets of these extraordinary travels, we're left to wonder, if animals can go to such lengths, what's our excuse for not visiting our relatives over the holidays?
It's truly mind-boggling how these animals navigate their way across the globe. Thank you for joining us today on this fascinating journey. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Curiosity Wonderland, we invite you to blast that like button, leave us a comment, and share this episode with your friends. Remember, exploring the world starts with curiosity.
Absolutely, and we're here to stoke that curiosity. Until our next adventure, stay curious, stay adventurous.
And stay tuned to Curiosity Wonderland. Goodbye, everyone.
This fascinating information came from an article titled 10 Extraordinary Animal Migration Journeys on Listverse, written by Lee D. and published on January 13, 2024. The full URL is in the video description if you want to delve deeper into the subject. Now I'm off.